Hey everyone, it's Kong again with another episode of Should You Summon. As always, I'll be presenting high-level overviews of these new characters using these criteria to help you decide whether this banner is worth your hard-earned vouchers and crystals. How they fit into your team, whether they unlock any bonds, what kind of content they get used for, and their future availability. So I've got to get back to the Demon Souls remaster, so let's hop right into this new character Rate-Up banner featuring Tsubame and Florentia from the DS game Langrisser Reincarnation Tensei. This banner runs from November 19th to December 2nd, and it's not a Destiny banner, so it's definitely possible to summon off-banner heroes, even on your first SSR draw. In other great news, this week is going to be hosting a double Gates of Fate event, which means for the next 7 days we're going to be able to do 18 Gates of Fate. So if you summon one or both of these characters and you want to start sharding them up right away, you'll be able to do that without disrupting your current schedule. Okay, so let's start with Tsubame. She's a ninja, and part of her talent is typical ninja stuff. She gets a boost to attack and skill based on how many enemies are around. The other part of her talent is based on enemies not being around. If she ends her turn without dealing damage, and there are no enemies within 2 rings, she hides, making enemies unable to target her with attacks or skills. At least until someone gets within 1 space of her or she deals damage. Her 3-cost skill is a fairly standard guard-ignoring, crit-boosting assassin attack, with the added bonus that she's allowed to move away 2 spaces after getting a kill, and she's allowed to hide even though she just did damage. Sneaky. Anyway, remember that just because she can't be targeted doesn't mean she can't still be caught in the span of an AoE attack that's targeting someone else, so be careful with your positioning. She's a member of Langrisser Reincarnation, buffed by Ares and soon Hilda, and Meteor Strike, buffed by Zerida. For bonds, she unlocks the defensive bond for her bannermate Florentia, and maybe that's the main reason to summon her? For her own bonds, she needs Maya for her defensive bond, and Florentia for her attack bond. For content, in PvE, she's only on faction for Scylla and Jormungandr. She's not really built for PvE, but she could have some baby Omega utility. She has Quick Step, which boosts her skill by 30% and then lets her take an additional action. And she has Quick Flash, which lets her attack before her opponent if she has more skill. She also has a 7-range teleport that steals buffs from any enemy that she zips through. Not quite the wholesale unit eraser that Omega is, but she could have some utility. On the PvP side, she could see some use in assassin-heavy boxes, but they're not super common even in Season 6. In general, she doesn't get used a whole lot. Really, her main PvP use is to unlock bonds so Florentia can be more useful. Obviously though, as an assassin, if you invest in her, she can do some sneaky and dangerous things. For availability, I'll talk about availability for both of them at the end of Florentia's section, so skip ahead if you just want to know about Tsubame, or be patient and watch the whole thing, always an option. Actually, let's change gears and switch to Florentia now. Florentia is a healer with a unique new mechanic. She collects tokens that she can use to trigger special effects. She can cash in 1 token to heal an ally's soldiers by 70% and increase the soldier's attack by 10%. A lot of her skills and talents affect soldiers. She can cash in 2 tokens to increase an ally's movement, and she can cash in 5 tokens to let an ally act again. She starts the battle with 5 tokens at 6 star, only 2 at 3 star, and she gains 2 more if she ends her turn under the influence of a faction buff, up to a maximum of 10. Speaking of factions, she's a member of Langrisser Reincarnation, buffed by Ares and soon Hilda, Empire's Honor, buffed by Bernhardt, Leon, Lance, and the upcoming Rosenseal, and Strategic Masters, buffed by Altemuller and Lanford. So obviously this is actually pretty important to pay attention to Florentia, since a big part of her additional abilities from her talent is enabled by getting one of these faction buffs. She is good in her own right, and she will be good right out of the gate in one of the rare Empire's Honor boxes, but she won't really start to shine until Hilda brings the Langrisser Reincarnation buff to the table. Good combo. Her 3-cost skill attacks and debuffs enemies along 3 lines, healing and dispelling allies in the same area, and it gives her 1 token, 2 if she hits at least 2 enemies. For bonds, she unlocks the attack bonds for Tsubame, and the upcoming Langrisser Reincarnation tank and faction buffer Hilda, and this is the main reason to summon her, to be honest. Hilda is very powerful and useful. As soon as we learned about Hilda, Florentia went from being a maybe useful in certain teams unit to pretty much a must-have. If you're not considering summoning Hilda when the time comes for whatever reason, then Florentia is a lot less compelling. For her own bonds, she needs Bannermate Tsubame for her defensive bond, and Licorice for her attack bond. For content, in PvE, she's on faction for Phoenix and Valkyrie in the Eternal Temple, and Sleipnir in Ancient Beckoning. She's a healer with an Act Again skill. She's good. Honestly, everyone's good, it's PvE. If you have the team for her, then you can make her work. She does have one skill, Plan for Victory, that gives her a token each time an enemy unit dies, and that's pretty handy for general purpose PvE where you're fighting a bunch of fodder enemies. It'll help make her useful by being able to keep using her talent skills. In PvP, she's already strong in Empire teams if you're running Bernhardt or Leon for buffs to keep those sweet strategy tokens coming. Rosenseal doesn't help a ton because they're both healers, and Rosen would prefer not to bring her buff, but still it's an improvement to the faction as a whole, so it does help. When Hilda comes out in March and brings a legit faction buffing tank for the Langrisser Reincarnation faction, now that's when Florentia really becomes a PvP star. That's when the rest of that whole faction becomes a star, really. For availability, alright, Tsubame and Florentia aren't currently on the upcoming banner prediction schedule, but we know they're coming in late April or slightly later because there's a pattern with these new heroes. One always ends up on a Raid Up banner, and the other always ends up on a Destiny banner that's usually based on a shared faction. If I had to guess, I'd say Florentia will get the Destiny banner, but that's not gospel. Just statistically, she has more factions, and the kind of factions that I can see them trying to bundle together for a banner like that. But you never know. The bottom line is, probably 6 months, they'll be coming along again. So here's the quick and dirty. We have Tsubame, who's a ninja who does the usual ninja stuff. She can hide, preventing her from being targeted, and she unlocks the defensive bond for Florentia. And then of course we have Florentia, who's a healer with special talent skills that lets her cast Act Again, among other things. She unlocks the attack bonds for Tsubame and Hilda, and I repeat, she unlocks the attack bond for Hilda. Okay, just a quick reminder about upcoming banners. There are only 3 banners between this one and the Overlord crossover in December. Dehart and Shalinka, a Destiny banner featuring Lanford, Shelfaniel, and Virash, and then an old classic rerun starring Elwyn, Leon, and Bernhardt. So there are a couple opportunities in there for you to snipe off a Destiny guarantee if you do have one on those banners. And then of course the Overlord crossover is going to be getting a lot of attention from Overlord fans. I'll talk more about those units in their Should You Summon video, obviously. People were excited about Albedo at least at the start, but she's kind of been power crept a little bit by Hilda. Collectors and fans, that's not really going to enter into the question, but either way, those are the banners that are coming up soon. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments if you're summoning on this banner, if you had any luck, are you trying to get one or both, or are you skipping altogether? You know me, I'm going to try to get one copy of both, but unlike previous banners like the Sage for example, I'm not going to break the bank. If I miss one of these characters, it's not the end of the world, I'll try to pick them up later. I do want to build Hilda in the future, but realistically, if I'm not able to do that, I don't think it's really going to change my level of success. So, thanks again so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next Should You Summon.